You think the past is gone, that what happened yesterday, last year, a century ago, has disappeared, ceased to exist, vanished into nothingness, that only the present moment exists, this razor-thin slice of now that we're experiencing right at this instant. And the future? The future hasn't happened yet. It doesn't exist. It's waiting to be created by our choices, our actions, our free will. That's what everyone believes. That's what feels true. The past is memory. The future is possibility. Only now is real. But here's what I discovered. And it's going to terrify you. The past still exists. Right now. Not as a memory, not as an echo, but actually exists. As real and as present as this moment you're experiencing. Your childhood still exists. The dinosaurs still exist. Every moment that has ever happened is still happening. Somewhere in space-time. And the future? It already exists too. Your death exists. The end of the universe exists. All of it is laid out, immutable, in the four-dimensional structure of space-time. Time doesn't flow. There is no universal now. The universe is a block, a frozen four-dimensional entity, and what we call the passage of time is just our consciousness moving along our world line, experiencing one slice after another. This is not philosophy. This is not speculation. This is the direct, unavoidable consequence of special relativity. Let me show you how I figured this out and why it destroys everything you think you know about time, change, and free will. Let's start simple. Let's start with something everyone has experienced. Two events happening at the same time. Simultaneous events. You and your friend are standing next to each other. You both clap your hands at the same instant. Simultaneous. Same time. Same place. Or you're here and your friend is across the room. You agree beforehand to clap at exactly 3 p.m. You both look at your watches. At exactly 3 p.m., you both clap. Simultaneous, same time, different places. Still seems straightforward, right? But here's the question. How do you know you clapped at the same time? Your friend is across the room. Light takes time to travel. Sound takes time to travel. When you see your friend clap, that's not when they clap. That's when the light from their clapping reached your eyes. If you're 10 meters away, the light takes about 30 nanoseconds to reach you. Tiny, but not zero. So how do you define simultaneity? Newton said it's simple. There's absolute time, a universal clock ticking away, the same for everyone, everywhere. If two events happen at the same tick of this universal clock, they're simultaneity. Period. Doesn't matter where you are, how fast you're moving. Simultaneity is absolute. This seems obvious. This is what common sense tells us, but it's wrong. Completely wrong. And I can prove it. Here's how. Let's do a thought experiment. Imagine a train, a very long train, moving very fast. Let's say it's moving at half the speed of light. Just to make the numbers clear, there's a person standing in the exact middle of the train car. At the front of the car and the back of the car, there are two lightning bolts. From the perspective of the person in the middle of the train, both lightning bolts strike at exactly the same time. The light from both bolts reaches them simultaneously. Since they're equidistant from both strikes, and the light traveled at the same speed from both directions, the strikes must have been simultaneous. On the train, the two events are simultaneous. Now, you're standing on the platform, watching the train go by. What do you see? You see the same two lightning bolts strike the train. But here's the key. The train is moving. The person in the middle of the train is moving toward the front lightning bolt and away from the back lightning bolt. So from your perspective, the light from the front bolt doesn't have to travel as far to reach the middle person because the middle person is moving toward it. And the light from the back bolt has to travel farther because the middle person is moving away from it. But the person in the middle sees both lights arrive at the same time. The only way this is possible is if, from your perspective on the platform, the front lightning bolt struck first and the back lightning bolt struck later. The time difference exactly compensates for the motion of the train. Let me say that again, because it's crucial. On the train, the two lightning strikes are simultaneous. On the platform, they are not. The front one happens first, then the back one. Same two physical events, different answers about whether they're simultaneous. Simultaneity is not absolute. It depends on your state of motion. This is the relativity of simultaneity, and it's a direct consequence of the fact that the speed of light is the same for everyone. You might think, well, maybe one answer is right and the other is wrong. Maybe there's a preferred frame of reference, an absolute rest frame, and in that frame we get the real answer about simultaneity. But no, special relativity says there is no preferred frame. All inertial frames, all reference frames moving at constant velocity are equally valid. The person on the train is just as entitled to say they're at rest, and you're moving as you are to say you're at rest, and they're moving. There's no experiment you can do to determine who's really moving. Motion is relative, and therefore simultaneity is relative. Now, think about what this means. If simultaneity is relative, then there's no universal now. My now is different from your now if we're in relative motion. Events that are happening right now for me are not happening right now for you. Events that are in my future might be in your past. Events that are in my past might be in your future. The whole concept of now across the universe is meaningless. There is no cosmic present moment that we can all agree on. Every observer slices up space-time into past, present, and future differently, depending on their state of motion. Let me make this concrete. Imagine there's a planet 10 light years away. There's an alien on that planet. Right now, from my perspective, sitting here at rest, relative to Earth, what is that alien doing? Well, if I define now as events that are simultaneous with this moment in my reference frame, then there's some event on that planet that's happening. Now, let's say the alien is eating lunch. Now, suppose I start walking toward that planet, just walking, a few meters per second. Nothing dramatic, because I am now moving relative to Earth. My definition of now changes. The set of events across the universe that I consider simultaneous with this moment shifts. For that alien 10 light years away, my now shifts backward in time by a tiny amount. Maybe now, in my new reference frame, the alien is having breakfast, not lunch. I didn't do anything to the alien. I didn't send a signal. I didn't affect them causally. I just changed my state of motion, and my definition of now across the universe changed. Now suppose I turn around and walk the other direction. My now shifts forward. Maybe now the alien is having dinner. By walking back and forth, I'm shifting what events on that distant planet I consider to be happening now, but nothing I'm doing is affecting the alien. They're just living their life. All these events, breakfast, lunch, dinner, are equally real. They all exist. My walking back and forth is just changing which slice of their existence I label as now. But all the slices exist. Past, present, future, all equally real, all equally existent in space-time. This is the block universe. Space-time is a four-dimensional block. 3 dimensions of space, 1 of time. Every event that has ever happened or will ever happen exists somewhere in this block. Your birth exists. Your death exists. Your death exists. The formation of the earth exists. The end of the sun exists. All of it is laid out, frozen, eternal, in this 4-dimensional structure. What we call time passing is just our consciousness experiencing one slice of this block after another, moving along our world line from past to future. But all the slices exist, always. The past didn't disappear. The future hasn't yet come into being. They're all there, in the block. This follows necessarily from special relativity. If simultaneity is relative, if there's no universal now, then you cannot say that only the present exists, because present means different things to different observers. The only consistent way to think about it is that everything exists. Past, present, future, all equally real, all part of the 4-dimensional block universe. Let me address an objection. You might say, but I experience time flowing. I experience the present moment moving forward. I remember the past, but I don't remember the future. Things change. That feels real. How can you say time doesn't flow? I'm not saying you don't experience time flowing. Of course you do. I do too. What I'm saying is that this experience is a feature of consciousness, not a feature of the universe. The block universe exists timelessly. All moments exist simultaneously, or rather, simultaneously is the wrong word because it implies time. All moments just exist in the four-dimensional structure. Your consciousness or mind experiences these moments sequentially because of how memory works, because of the thermodynamic arrow of time, because of causality. But the flow is in our experience, not in the universe. Think of it like a movie. A movie is a reel of film. All the frames exist simultaneously on the reel. The beginning, the middle, the end, all there. When you watch the movie, you experience the frames sequentially. You experience the story unfolding. But that unfolding is because the projector is moving through the frames one at a time. The frames themselves aren't changing. They're all just there. Your life is like that. Your word line is like a movie reel. All the moments of your life exist in space-time. Your consciousness experiences them sequentially, one after another. But they're all there. Your past still exists. Your future already exists. Now, you might find this terrifying. I did, at first. It seems to eliminate free will. If the future already exists, if my death is already laid out in space-time, then how can I have choices? How can anything I do matter? Isn't everything predetermined? This is a deep question, and I don't have a complete answer. But here's what I think. In the block universe view, all events are laid out. Your choices are part of that layout. But that doesn't mean you don't make choices. Your choices are part of the causal structure of the universe. You still deliberate, you still decide, you still act. The fact that these decisions exist timelessly in the block doesn't make them any less real or meaningful. Think about it this way. Right now, in 1955, World War II is in the past. It's over. It exists in the block universe as a set of events from 1939 to 1945. Those events are fixed, they're not changing. But the people living through those events made choices. They fought, they resisted, they surrendered, they sacrificed. Those choices mattered. They shaped the outcome. The fact that, from my perspective in 1955, those events are past and fixed doesn't mean the people at the time didn't have agency. Similarly, from the perspective of the timeless block universe, all your choices are fixed. But from your perspective within time, you still make them. You still have agency. This is compatibilism in philosophy. Free will is compatibilism in philosophy. Free will is compatible with determinism. I'm not sure I'm entirely convinced by this argument, but it's the best resolution I've found. The alternative is to reject the block universe, but then you have to explain how relativity works, how simultaneity can be relative without past and future being equally real. I haven't seen a satisfactory way to do that. Let me show you another consequence of the block universe. It changes what we mean by existence. Normally, we think something exists if it's present right now. The chair I'm sitting on exists. Julius Caesar doesn't exist because he's dead in the past. My great-great-grandchildren don't exist because they haven't been born yet. They're in the future. But in the block universe, this is wrong. Caesar exists, just at a different location in space-time. My great-great-grandchildren exist, just at a different location in space-time. They're not here now, but they're there then. And there then is just as real as here now. This means death is not annihilation. When you die, you don't cease to exist. You just stop extending further into the future in time. But all the moments of your life still exist in space-time. The child you were still exists. The adult you are still exists. The old person you will be still exists. All of it is laid out in your world line. Death is the end of your world line. But the world line itself is eternal, timeless, woven into the fabric of space-time. I find this both comforting and disturbing. Comforting because it means nothing is truly lost. Every moment, every person, every experience exists forever in the block. Disturbing because it means suffering also exists forever. The pain you experienced yesterday still exists, is still happening in that slice of space-time. The tragedies of history still exist, are still unfolding in their slices of space-time. We can't undo them. They're part of the eternal structure of the universe. Now, let me be very clear. This block universe view is not the only possible interpretation of relativity. Some physicists reject it. They argue for a growing block universe where the past and present exist but the future doesn't yet, or a presentist view where only the present exists, but the present is somehow relative or observer dependent. These views face serious challenges in reconciling with relativity, but they haven't been completely ruled out. What I'm presenting is the most straightforward, most natural interpretation of special relativity. If you take relativity seriously, if you accept that simultaneity is relative, then the block universe seems almost inevitable. Let me talk about causality and light cone because this is important. In the block universe, not all events are related. Some events can affect each other, some cannot. Whether event A can affect event B depends on whether a signal traveling at the speed of light or slower can get from A to B. If it can, we say A is in the past light cone of B and B is in the future light cone of A. If it can't, we say A and B are space-like separated. They cannot affect each other. No signal, no information, no causal influence can travel faster than light. For events in your past light cone, all observers agree they're in your past. For events in your future light cone, all observers agree they're in your future. But for events outside your light cone, space-like separated events, different observers disagree about whether they're in your past, your present, or your future. This is where the relativity of simultaneity lives. These space-like separated events can't affect you causally, so it doesn't matter that different observers disagree about their timing relative to you. Causality is preserved. The laws of physics still work. Causes still precede effects for all observers. But simultaneity for space-like separated events is relative, observer-dependent, meaningless. This structure, the light cone structure, is the fundamental causal structure of space-time. It tells you what can affect what, and it's built into special relativity. It's built into the geometry of space-time. The fact that the speed of light is the same for everyone, the fact that it's the maximum speed for any signal, creates this light cone structure. And this light cone structure, combined with the relativity of simultaneity, leads almost inevitably to the block universe view. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine you're looking at a map of a landscape with mountains and valleys. The map shows you the entire landscape at once. The eastern mountains exist, the western valley exists. All of it is there on the map simultaneously. Now imagine you're hiking through this landscape. At any moment, you're at one point on the map. Your past is the path you've walked. Your future is the path ahead. But the entire landscape exists. Your hike is moving through the landscape. But the landscape isn't being created as you walk. It's all there. Space-time is like this. It's a four-dimensional landscape. Your life is a path through it, your world line. You experience the path sequentially, moment by moment. But the entire landscape exists. Past, future, all of it. This analogy breaks down in one way. The landscape exists in space, and you move through it in time. But space-time is the landscape. There's no external time in which the space-time landscape exists. It just exists timelessly as a mathematical structure. But the analogy captures the idea that all points exist, and your experience is a journey through them, not a creation of them. Now, you might ask, is there any evidence for the block universe beyond just the logic of relativity? Not directly. The block universe is an interpretation, a way of understanding what relativity means, but relativity itself is tested extensively. Time dilation, length contraction, the relativity of simultaneity, all confirmed. GPS satellites wouldn't work without accounting for relativity. Particle accelerators wouldn't work. Muons from cosmic rays wouldn't reach the ground. Every test confirms relativity. And if relativity is right, and if we take it seriously, the block universe seems like the most natural interpretation. Some experiments have tested the relativity of simultaneity more directly. You can set up two clocks, synchronize them in one reference frame, then move them and check if they're still synchronized in a different reference frame. They're not. Different frames disagree about whether the clocks show the same time. This is exactly what relativity predicts. This is the relativity of simultaneity in action, and it supports the block universe view because it shows there's no universal now. Let me address another objection. Quantum mechanics. In quantum mechanics, the future seems genuinely uncertain. Before you measure a particle's position, it doesn't have a definite position. It's in a superposition. Only when you measure does it collapse into a definite state. This seems to contradict the block universe where the future is already laid out. How do we reconcile this? This is an open question. There are different interpretations of quantum mechanics. In the Copenhagen interpretation, the wave function collapse is real, and the future is not determined until measurements happen. This is hard to reconcile with the block universe. In the many worlds interpretation, all possible outcomes happen. The universe branches, and there's a block universe structure, but with branching. In hidden variable theories like Bohmian mechanics, the future is deterministic, but depends on initial conditions we can't know. Each interpretation has different implications for the block universe. I don't know which is right. Nobody does. This is one of the deepest unsolved problems in physics. How to reconcile quantum mechanics with relativity. How to understand the nature of time and reality when both theories seem to tell us different things. But here's what I do know. Special relativity by itself leads to the block universe. The relativity of simultaneity forces us to abandon the idea of a universal present moment. And if there's no universal present, then past and future must be as real as the present. This is a logical consequence of the theory. Quantum mechanics complicates this, adds layers of uncertainty and interpretation. But it doesn't undo the basic insight of relativity. Simultaneity is relative. Time is not absolute. The universe is not a three-dimensional space evolving in time. It's a four-dimensional space-time, and all events in that space-time exist. I want to be honest with you. This view of time is disturbing to me. It's not what I grew up believing. It's not what feels true. When I first worked through these ideas, when I realized the implications of the relativity of simultaneity, I resisted. I looked for ways around it. But the mathematics is clear. The logic is inescapable. If the speed of light is constant for all observers, if motion is relative, then simultaneity must be relative. And if simultaneity is relative, the block universe follows. Some people find comfort in the block universe. They say, look, everything that ever happened still exists. No one is truly gone. Every moment is eternal. Others find it horrifying. They say, this eliminates meaning, eliminates change, eliminates free will. I understand both reactions. I've felt both reactions. But ultimately, what I feel doesn't matter. What matters is what's true. And the evidence, the mathematics, the logic all point to the block universe. Think about what this means for your life. Every moment you've lived still exists. Your first memory, your happiest day, your worst mistake, all still there, frozen in space-time. Every person you've loved still exists at the moments you were together. They're not gone. They're just at different locations in space-time. You can't reach them because you can't move backward in time. You can only move forward, but they exist, and you, the you reading this right now, exist eternally at this moment. A billion years from now, in the far future, you won't be around, but this moment, right now, will still exist in space-time. You will always have existed at this moment. That's the block universe. And the future? Your future already exists. Your death is already laid out. The end of the sun, the heat death of the universe, all already there in the block. Does this mean you have no free will? I don't think so. I think you still make choices. Those choices are part of your world line. They shape the structure of space-time in your region. But they're not free in the sense of being undetermined. They're part of the deterministic structure of the block. This is hard to accept. It goes against our intuition. But our intuitions evolved to help us survive in a world of everyday speed and distance. They didn't evolve to understand the nature of time and space at a fundamental level. Let me bring this back to where we started. Why does the past still exist? Because time is not what we think it is. Time is not a flowing river carrying us from past to future. Time is a dimension, like space, and the universe is a four-dimensional structure. Simultaneity is relative. There's no universal now, and therefore, all moments in time are equally real. Past, present, future all exist in the block universe. This is the unavoidable conclusion of special relativity. It's not comfortable. It's not what common sense tells us, but it's what the mathematics tells us. It's what the evidence tells us. It's the truth. I discovered this in 1905 when I developed special relativity. I realized the speed of light is constant for all observers. I realized simultaneity must be relative, and I realized the implications for the nature of time. Many physicists since then have grappled with these implications. Some embrace the block universe, some try to avoid it, but the logic remains. Relativity and the block universe fit together naturally. If you accept one, the other follows. And we've tested relativity over and over. Every test confirms it. The predictions about time dilation, about length contraction, about the addition of velocities, all confirm. Relativity is one of the most successful theories in physics, and if relativity is right, the block universe is the most straightforward interpretation. The past exists, the future exists, all moments exist eternally in space-time. This is not what we want to hear, but it's what the universe is telling us. That's what I discovered, not comfort, not simplicity, truth.